All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming out today. Um, I want to focus on a topic that is kind of interesting. When we think about, you know, why people leave companies, right? Think about it. Oftentimes you hear people say, I left because what, right? Oftentimes you hear people saying it wasn't a right fit, right? And so when we think about fit, more specifically technical organization, person, environment, supervisor fit, there are there's a way to think about it in many respects, and also as it relates to how you perceive not only yourself but also what you value, right? And so when we think about it in a broader sense, I present to you a case study, right? um, Meet my buddy Gloria. So Gloria, is an engineer, right? She was hired by this company because she can use Microsoft Office. She's friendly, and what differentiated her from the other candidates in the job was that she had a PMP, which is more so specific to project management, and she has a black belt in Six Sigma, right? Um, this is her office environment. And if you notice, right in the middle of it, or in the very back of this office space, is Gloria's cubicle, right? And and so, Gloria here is an engineer. She has a lot of promise, with this company, but her coworkers tend to be a little off, if you can tell by the image here. Um, Unfortunately, Gloria didn't last 12 months on the job. There were no performance issues. Her company was listed in the top 10 in terms of top 10 workplaces, but she left on her own, right? So what was it, right? And so this is a case study that we'll tackle within the first part of the video, or first part of our class. But to get into this idea of fit, I present to you a short video. Take a look.
Sometimes when I think about fit, I think about Gandhi. Yeah, that's right, Gandhi. So I'll bet when I say Gandhi that you're probably imagining this little old man wearing round glasses and a loincloth, sitting on the floor in India spinning a wheel. But actually, when Gandhi was a young man, he was this hard-charging human rights attorney in South Africa. It wasn't until he was in his mid-40s that he began to realize that this life he was living, it was a bad fit for him. He knew he was doing the right work, but he was doing it in this environment where he couldn't be effective. So he traded in his suit for a loincloth, went back to India, and found his fit. It was then that he accomplished tremendous things. He changed the world. And the truth is, so can you, because that is the power of fit. Okay, so what is fit? Well, fit is when two things come together. We usually think about fit in terms of clothes or shoes, but I want to talk with you about fit in terms of work, which I think is one of the most compelling aspects of fit. Fit with work is critical because work is where most of us will spend the vast majority of our lives. Think about that for a minute. Think about all the time you spend at work, all the time you spend talking about work, thinking about work. If you don't fit your work, you are missing out on a huge portion of your life. So, what does it look like to fit your work? Well, it's when your values and the company's values fit. It's when your personality and the personalities of the people that you work with fit. It's when the way you communicate and the way others communicate with you fit. When you don't have fit, work and life can be incredibly frustrating and exhausting. When you do have fit, work and life tend to be inspiring and invigorating. I mean, don't you want to sign up for that right now? That's what I want to talk with you about. This idea of fit at work and what it can do for individuals, for each of us. Let me tell you about my own relationship to fit. Back in 1997, I had my bachelor's degree in hand, and I was applying to PhD programs in clinical psychology. I was choosing between two schools. UCLA was #1 in the country, and University of Denver, a great school with a program that I really loved. Now, I knew that DU was probably a better fit for me. But frankly, I was completely dazzled by the fact that I'd been accepted by UCLA. So off I went to Southern California. And at first, it was great. I was surrounded by all these incredibly intelligent people and big ideas. But it didn't take long before I began to realize that just something wasn't quite right. You see, UCLA had this incredibly research-focused environment. And I was realizing that I wanted to be a strong clinician. But at first, I didn't trust my instincts. In large part because I had people saying things to me like, "Are you crazy? If you leave UCLA, you will ruin your career. And when you get out of here, you'll have it made. It's only 5 more years." But I knew that I didn't fit and that I had to make a change despite all of those risks. So I packed up my car and drove across Death Valley to the Rocky Mountains, where I spent the next 5 years at DU. From day one, I knew that I was in the right place, that I fit. In fact, that was my first experience of the tremendous power of fit. Little did I realize at the time that soon I'd focus my whole career on that topic. After I got my PhD, I worked as a business psychologist for nearly a decade, helping senior leaders and boards of directors and investors choose executives that fit their companies. I loved my work. I got to experience the power and the impact of analyzing fit on a daily basis. But I also often got really frustrated because the only people who were able to evaluate fit were those who could hire expensive consultants. And then one day I got a call from Brent Daly, who'd heard about my work. He told me that he and his partner, Tim Walters, were developing this new technology. It was a software platform designed to analyze fit between employees and organizations. There it was, finally a way to democratize this process of evaluating fit by merging psychology and technology. I was actually so inspired by their mission that I jumped on board. And for the past 3 years, we've been helping companies hire, develop, and engage their people in alignment with their unique company culture. All right, so why is fit important? Well, the way we're growing companies isn't working. According to recent organizational research, nearly half of all new hires fail within 18 months. And 89% of those failures have nothing to do with skills and abilities, which is the main piece we typically look at when hiring. These employees are failing because they don't fit with the company or the team or the manager. According to Amy Christoph Brown, who's one of the academic experts most focused on this topic, this concept of fit at work has actually been in the organizational literature for over 100 years. She conducted a meta-analysis of 172 person-environment fit studies, and she concluded this: the better an individual fits their work environment, the more satisfied and more productive they'll be. That's the basic concept of person-environment fit. So what does it mean to fit your work environment? Well, the core of the fit puzzle that I believe is most compelling is fit with company culture. To sum up a ton of research, we know now that organizations' cultures are created or developed by the employees from the bottom up, not the top down. Why? We have decades of personality research to demonstrate that our personalities, the core of who we are really actually pretty hardwired by the time we reach adulthood. And it's those values that drive our behavior on a day-to-day basis, everywhere, including the workplace. So there's the official company culture, the one that's usually posted on the lobby wall. And then there's the actual company culture, the way a company really functions on a day-to-day basis. And that's determined by the individual values held by each employee. It's fit with that actual company culture that predicts whether an employee will thrive. And this is not just feel-good stuff. Culture fit is not just nice to have. When employees fit their organizations, they're more productive, more effective, and they stay longer. All of which we know contribute directly to the financial performance of organizations. In fact, Jim Collins in Good to Great found that organizations whose employees were culturally aligned were 6 times more profitable than their competition. So culture fit, it's good for everyone. It's good for companies. It's definitely good for the bottom line. It's good for each of us. So now I want you to think about your own life. Think about all the places in your life that you have fit. And now, think about all the places in your life where you don't have fit. And I want you to think about how you could change that. Make a decision about how to make a change in your life, either in a big way or a small way, so that it's more aligned with your values, with who you are. Sure, it is definitely a risk to make a change, but I think it's a much greater risk to stay where you don't fit. Because when you fit, you can accomplish tremendous things. The power of fit can revolutionize the way we work. It can transform all of our lives. And it could, just possibly, change the world. Thank you.
So again, what is fit, right? And yeah, the presenter here talked about Christoph Brown and her research, Amy Christoph Brown, that is. And so when it comes to the actual literature of fit, point blank, it is the compatibility between an individual and the work environment, the supervisor, the job, or the career. Okay, if there's a match, between the individual and those other entities, then there's a positive relationship moving forward, right? And so what we see here is that when people have fit, that is, they have better attitude with their job, they have greater satisfaction with what they do, there's a greater commitment to the organization, and an enhanced relationship between the individual and the supervisor, or the individual and their coworkers, right? And they're productive, right? The thing with fit is something that, sounds really simple, but it's really complex. As the video was going on, I realized that I've been doing fit work, if you will, for over 20 years, not only in terms of helping students understand their fit within student organizations, specifically fraternities and sororities and student organizations, but also helping students find fit in terms of, what they want to do after graduation as it relates to their career, more specifically your peers and being mechanical engineers. Okay, so this idea of fit, right, is something that we're focused on today. And when we think about fit as it relates to your co-op job, right, where's their fit? And we'll talk more about that when we go into breakout groups, right? But going back to Gloria, right? Gloria, based on the profile we talked about earlier, Gloria is extroverted. She's a 9-to-5 worker, but not really a fan of cosplay, right? And so when we think about all the activities that she does with her coworkers, it's all within the 9-to-5 job, right? She's really not into dressing up and going to conventions and things of that nature, or going out and playing Dungeons and Dragons or what have you, right? When we think about the idea of person job fit, right? Person job fit, talks about the skills, right? And so when we look at Gloria, Gloria has what the company wanted when it comes to the actual position, and that's why they hired her, right? But then when we think about the actual environment, her coworkers, the and the work, right? She wanted stability. Gloria is the type of person that will go to bed by 9 o'clock and wake up by 6:30 the following day and go to work, right? She wants to start a family. She wants to have organic, interdependent relationships where she's feeding off of people. She's developing a collaborative relationship with others in her job as a program manager, right? But the company environment, right? Requires that their employees have 24-hour access. So if there's an emergency within a company project, they can contact her in the middle of the night. Um, because of the interaction that's required, the work is the family. Okay. And so basically you live, sleep, die, thinking about work. Um, the environment is more of an aggressive entrepreneurship. So with that, there isn't any progression or trajectory for advancement. It's more so everyone's after themselves, right? And because of the way the office environment is structured, there's a dependent hierarchy, not an interdependent hierarchy, but a dependent hierarchy where you pass information off to the next person and move from there. Okay. So when we think about fit, right, think about real quick what you have experienced. Is it very similar to what Gloria experienced? Or is it something entirely different where there is actual alignment with not only what you value and what you want in a job and what a company offers, right? So we're going to try something new in terms of the class today, and we're going to do some breakout rooms, right? And so I'm going to randomly assign you to a breakout room, and I want you to discuss the following discussion topics, okay? One, think about times when you do your best work, okay? Describe the surroundings around that work. What did you do? What did you see, feel, hear, what have you, okay? When it comes to that best work, is that attributed to the company culture? And so what aspects of company culture do you value? um, Describe what those traits are, and what's most important to you. If you are in the midst of a job search, think about what you want in the next job, in the next co-op job. If you're going back to your employer, why are you going back? Okay. What aspects of the company culture do you enjoy, and and what's making you go back, right? And then talk about the technical part of your job based on what you know so far. What kind of position do you like to explore or pursue? Okay. So again, in your discussion, I'm going to put you into a discussion group. Think about the times you've done your best work. Think about the company culture. What aspects of that culture appeal to you? And then think about the job itself, right? So I'm going to set you off into breakout rooms right now. I got to do this manually. Hang on. Okay, I think everyone is slowly coming back. It looks like we lost some folks along the way here. Um, okay, everyone's slowly coming back. So as people are coming back, if you would like to share either in the chat or unmute yourself, what were some commonalities that you uncovered when discussing these questions?
Some commonalities in my group were we work best in an independent sort of environment. So checking in with our supervisor or our boss or whatever once or twice a week versus a hovering, uh, breathing down your neck sort of micromanaging. And most of us had a positive experience with that at our co-op. So it was an observation on something that we liked rather than something that we disliked at our co-ops, which was good.
Thanks, John. What else? Sean mentioned company culture and environment preferences, and as we think about those types of commonalities, what you realize is that we all value the same thing, right? But what is it that we truly value? And they may not be explicitly the same, but there are similarities, right? And so when we think about the idea of value, right? Value, as you can see on the screen here, denotes the degree of importance of something or action, right? With the aim of determining what actions are best to do or what way is best to live, or to describe the significance of different actions, right? When you combine several values together into a system, they're proscriptive and prescriptive, and they affect your behavior as an individual, more specifically the decisions you make, and the activities you participate in. Values are strong, and then oftentimes there are values that are of lesser um, worth, based on changes, based on your environment, right? Based on your job, right? So when we think about this extension of fit, right? One of the immediate ways that we can talk about the alignment, if you will, between that of the individual with the company, or the individual and the team, or the individual and the supervisor, is that of value. When we go through the Clifton Strengths Assessment, and this is your cue to sort of dig out or try to bring up and write down your top 5. When we think about the Clifton Strengths Assessment as part of the research, the Gallup organization started delving into this idea of value within our Clifton Strengths. And when we think about specific strengths or signature themes, what values are associated with that strength, right? And so they came up with an initial list, if you will. And now it's not explicit to any particular strength, but when they combined everyone's responses based on um, you know values, this is the list that they've come up with, right? Oftentimes what I do is I take this list and I have individuals sort of pick 5 that speak to them, right? So real quick, pick 5 values that strongly describe you. If you need a clarification on a description, let me know. But if you would, um, pick 5 values that actually describe who you are as an individual. And then I'm going to have you do that. I'm going to have you do another activity and breakout. Okay. So for, let's see here, for about 5 minutes now, what I want for you to do um, is within your assigned groups, there should be 2 or 3 in each room. Okay. What I want for you to do is share your top 5 values, and then how does that align with your number one strength? Okay. Um, how does your value align with the one you selected? It doesn't have to be every single one of them. I just want for you to talk about your top strength or the one that's most salient to you, and discuss how those values align with that strength. Okay. I'm gonna send you into breakout rooms now. Okay, so as we conclude, I want to hopefully this activity sort of shares, sort of this activity of sharing gives you the opportunity to one talk amongst your peers. You probably haven't had a chance to talk with peers, being remote, but hopefully this is an opportunity to sort of talk about your values. I think one of the things that you'll also notice is that as we all have different values, some of our values are the same, right? But going back to that list of values, you know, some of us define these values very differently. Okay. But one of the things I want for you to consider is as you have your top 5 values, as you've defined them and internalized them and own it now, and by aligning it with one of your strengths, and providing a little more context and description of that, how do you use it to judge organizations, right? And this is something that I've promoted among students to consider for a number of years now. Think about how your values align with that of an organization, right? More specifically, an organization's mission statement. Okay, so if you will, if you are a part of this company, don't yell out. But what I want for you to do is, after hearing and reading the company mission statement, does it align with your values? So for this one, we are creative and curious. We are driven to help our partners and clients use new technology in better ways. The core values are integrated deep within our culture, and our valued employees are the reason for our success. We believe in delivering exceptional service while providing quality, timeliness, and value for every project. If this is your organization, that's great, right? But for many folks, if you haven't recognized already, this is kinetic vision. Right? Here's another one. How do we create some of the most advanced, reliable, and safe vehicles? So you know the industry already. It starts with our manufacturing principles and management philosophy. We're always looking for ways to improve our operations, always challenging ourselves to innovate, always looking to collaborate, always improving each day in everything we do. If you work at this company, is that really the case? Or if not, in what ways is it different, right? It's Toyota. Right? Here's another one. Now, this company here explicitly talks about their values. First was integrity, because acting with integrity is vital to building and maintaining trust and good relationships. Respect, because what we do has an impact on many people's lives. Courage, because ethical questions are rarely easy but must be addressed. And finally, transparency, because we must always be truthful, sincere, and be able to justify our actions and decisions. If this is your company, that's great, right? Um, again, question, how do your values align with these values that are explicitly listed here, right? And if you can interpret and align your values to these values, then you could be a potential candidate to work at L'Oreal, right? Here's some fun ones. Reach, learn, diversity, collaborate, give, celebrate. Bear is sort of one of those key words here. Build-A-Bear Workshop. Okay. When we think about, what the folks at Build-A-Bear do when it comes to building, building bears, is it about reaching? Is it about learning? Is it giving back? Is it about celebrating? Is it about collaborating? Or when we look at their products, is there really diversity in their products? Right. Here's another example. Second to last one. With great courage, integrity, and love, we embrace our responsibility to co-create a world where each of us, our communities, and our planet can flourish, all the while celebrating the sheer love of and joy of food. So you know right away the industry, right? But when we think about why we go to this store, is it exactly what is envisioned in this mission statement? And that's Whole Foods, right? When we go to Whole Foods, do we always think about integrity and love? When you interact with the employees, is there an embracing of responsibility to co-create a world where we can each, we can flourish, right? Something to think about, right? And then finally, I share with you this mission statement. And again, do your values align with this company to purchase their products? And their mission statement is sell good merchandise at a reasonable profit. Treat your customers like human beings, and they'll always come back for more. If you have a product from LL Bean, does that align with your values, right? So when we go back to the values of our organizations, we then look at the values of our individuals. And when we see that, there's actual fit, right? And so with that, thank you all for hanging in there today. And we'll see you next week.